approved, and then you start receiving some kind of compensation from workman's comp, which I did not know. And from the emergency room diagnosis, they were like, oh, it's just a bad pulled muscle, you should be back to work. And a week or two passed, I'm getting paid from continuation of pay, but the injury is not getting any better.
Welcome to the Back to Work Melbourne podcast, where Dr. Dorfman is your federal workers' comp OWCP expert in Brevard County, Florida. In this podcast, you'll hear tips and tricks about the OWCP process, along with heartfelt patient testimonials from those we've helped get their claims approved. Tune in each week for insightful advice and inspiring stories that will guide you through your journey.
Okay, Chelsea.
Hi, Dr. Dorfman.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. You are here for our first podcast.
Yes, I am.
You work at the post office.
I do.
And you've been there for how long?
About 7 years now.
Okay. And what do you do there at the post office?
I'm a rural carrier assistant.
Okay. And when did you injure yourself?
Back in 2019.
2019. And when you first injured yourself, what did you do? Did you tell your supervisor? Did you not tell anybody for a little bit?
I notified my supervisor, and it was an Amazon Sunday when your union rep is not available because they don't work on Sundays. Very great day to injure yourself at the post office. And the supervisor informed me to take some pain medication and continue delivering my route. Back then, it's when we were required to take even like the little small chunks that could fit into your mailbox to the door. So I did about 300 packages that day.
300. It's a lot. And do you load those packages into the truck?
Yes, they don't come organized for you, so you have to work out of the hampers, load them into the vehicle, organize them in sequence order, however the system decides to lay out your map sequence for that day.
So there's not other people that put your truck together and you deliver the mail. You're the person that literally takes the mail, the packages from the post office, puts it into your truck before you even leave.
Yes, the only thing that really ever comes in order for us is our DPS, which is the tray mail, but everything else we're required to case and put in a route sequence.
Okay. So on that day you injured yourself, you let your supervisor know a little bit later. And did your supervisor send you anywhere? Did they tell you to go to federal injury centers where we're sitting right here waiting for you to be here?
No, I went and continued to deliver my route because it happened as I was loading the vehicle. I hadn't even started delivering yet. And as I kept getting in and out of the mail truck to deliver, the injury had progressed and gotten worse. And I just remember twisting to reach back into the LLV. There's a big doorway that leads into the back of the truck. As I was twisting from there back out is where I felt the pop, and I fell out of the mail truck from the top stair onto gravel, and which doctors now say increased the injury to where it is. And I had notified my supervisor, and they looked up how many stops I had left and told me to keep going.
Standard. Okay. And then when you went to your first doctor, that was how many days after your injury, or weeks?
I went to the emergency room that same night. My husband actually had to take me because I was on my own. So I had to wait for him to get off of his shift, and then he ended up taking me to the emergency room because it did not feel like a pulled muscle or a restrained ligament, nothing like that. It was pretty excruciating, and I was unable to bend or move. And as soon as they found out that I worked for the post office, which is federal, they didn't want to have anything to do with any kind of treatment plan or anything across those lines.
So your supervisor tells you to go to the hospital or tells you to go to the urgent care center, but that's not even the right place to go. It's a great place to go, of course, when you're injured. So certainly I'm not saying not to ever go to the hospital or to an urgent care center, but they're not doing anything that's also important in getting your claim approved.
No, they didn't even have the proper terms to fill out on the paperwork that I did later get from my supervisor. which wasn't until that Monday morning when I
Right.
could get my union involved.
Okay.
Because the supervisors didn't even tell me to go to the emergency clinic. I ended up having to do that on my own.
And what kind of care did you end up getting initially? Physical therapy, massage therapy, just medication?
So I didn't start physical therapy for my injury until about 2 months after the injury occurred.
Mhm.
They just put me out of work on continuation of pay for the 45 days that it usually takes to get your claim approved. And then you start receiving some kind of compensation from workman's comp, which I did not know. The emergency room diagnosis, they were like, oh, it's just a bad pulled muscle, you should be back to work. And a week or two passed, I'm getting paid from continuation of pay, but the injury is not getting any better. So then I had finally went to another doctor. He was an urgent care clinic, but he also handled workman's comp cases. I guess it's just something he did on the side. He was just filling out CA-7s for me, basically just to give to my employer with my restrictions, and he would see me once a month and that was it.
Because federal workers' comp is too time consuming to do it on the side. It's something that an office has to be doing full time to do it correctly.
I think he was probably just doing it for an extra payment because he wasn't referring to any other doctors or trying to give you any kind of treatment plan. I'm not 100% on that fact or statement, but that's just my experience that I had with that doctor. He wanted to just fill out that one piece of paper and send you going.
So your claim wasn't approved yet.
No.
You're not getting paid for transportation back and forth to the doctors. How were you feeling, if you can remember back then, how were you feeling emotionally?
Stressed. You couldn't even process when your next payment was coming. That 45 days was coming up on that window that you knew that you were going to have a guaranteed check. The post office was basically just feeding you information that if you don't come back to work, then you're just not going to have work available here with us any longer. Just scare tactics is what they would try and do to try and push you to come back to work even though you're injured.
And that was here in Melbourne.
And that was here in Melbourne.
And meanwhile, we're just sitting here in our Sarno Road office in Melbourne treating federal workers' comp, but the supervisors can't just say, just drive over to Dr. Dorfman's office and everything will be okay.
Oh, they never believe you're injured. To them, you're faking, and to them, that's a punishment on their end, and they're not going to get their bonuses because now you are an accident claim, and that puts a ding on their little record that they want to have so clean, but yet they don't give us a work atmosphere where they can provide that clean record.
So people are going to get injured. And if they get injured, they deserve the insurance to be able to pay for their injury and do what's ever needed because you injured yourself at the workplace. So how did you find us?
Google.
Okay. You Googled words like injury, post office.
I did federal workman's comp doctor, I believe is what I put into the search tab after I had been driving to Maitland for, I want to say 3 years. And then that doctor disappeared, stopped taking on federal claims.
So then you found us.
I did.
Called us, and then we took it from there, and now all your paperwork is being submitted on time. I would assume you're getting paid for your transportation costs back and forth, and maybe once a month you fill out that transportation form. How's your treatment here?
Wonderful. I've received more training.
You're just saying that because you're on my podcast.
Absolutely. I've always wanted to be on the internet.
So you're getting your physical therapy, massage therapy.
I see mostly Ed. He's pretty fantastic.
Ed,
even when he's not branding you.
You said you were gonna mention his name on this podcast. But yes, Ed is wonderful. He's one of our massage therapists, and he's fantastic. So you're getting your physical therapy, your massage therapy. You're not having to come out of your pocket for any expenses because it's not going through your health insurance. You're getting reimbursed for your travel expenses, and you're back to work?
I have been back to work, yep. The treatment I've gotten here has definitely helped with being able to do the amount of work you're required to do with this injury that you have.
Over 90% of our patients here in the Melbourne office are still working. We want you working. We're not looking to be part of the problem. We're not looking to have you out of work and just treat you. We want you back to work as quickly as possible. Certainly we give you the restrictions that we feel that you need to be able to work, but not continue to re-injure yourself. working is part of, in other doctors' offices, they have their patients out of work, but in our office, we really do want you working. We don't want to be part of the problem. We want to be part of the solution, which means treating you, doing our best to help you get better, while at the same time you're working as much as you can, whereby you're still not injuring yourself. Okay. Thank you for being here, our very first podcast recipient.